Hi. Okay, I'm back. Some interesting action today. A lot of hard hits in the market. This stock, in particular, is a good example. Um, uh, it had a huge down move today. We're talking from the high 4 days ago. From the high to 4 days ago, we had a move down 22% in 4 days. That's pretty hard uh, from any perspective. However, I mean, it's got a good trend and whatnot, but I'll tell you why these things don't scare me and in fact make me think, do I buy more? I have a little bit of this one. Um, and as a former market maker on a stock exchange floor, very often I was forced to buy into these things with minimum guaranteed fills and that, and likewise with spikes on the upside. And typically, it was the right thing to do. Um, that's why often short reports, when you compare um, the pros to the retail, the pros will be long just before, slightly before a big move up, and most short just before a big down move because the retails push them into those positions. So here we go. Here's a good example, and I'll show you why this could be a potential buy opportunity. First of all, I mean, I think it has a fantastic trend, this stock, and blah, blah, blah. I can go on that there's support here, which it's kind of broke, but there'll be some buying in there most likely. But I'm talking more about this range. Now, I've always liked, I've always had an interest in the average true range as how what is a typical move, or how is the current move compare to a typical move in a day, a week, a month, 3 months, um, to know if you're really an outlier, like the fat tail kind of thing. Or so here, let's take a look, and I'll show you a rudimentary little indicator I put together. Um, oh, here we go. They're all popped up. I just opened one again, so I'll just delete this extra one. So I made this indicator. Um, in this case, it shows the previous close minus the low, um, divided by the previous close times 100. So it gives you the percent down from here to the very bottom of this bar here, um, for all the lows. So these are the lows, the low moves, from close to the low of the previous day's close to the low of the current day. And the upper one, the blue, makes sense for the buys. Um, this is this will measure from the difference between the high of the current trading day, minus the previous close day. So it'll show you the spikes where there's a big spike where you got a big pop up. And watch how the big moves tend to signal the end. Now I'm going to go, this is particularly large. It's over 15% down this day from the previous day's close to the low. And let's see, go back in the past where we've seen these kind of things. We'll see one here. That was the very low, okay? Sorry, the very low. Um, the I mean, we're going to have a buy here. That was kind of the high of this move, like the pop, and then there was a bit of it did go up, but very, very gradually. There was another buy here, a big spike up, which didn't signal a long term, any kind of a long term bottom, but it did come right back within a few days into that, or the range of that day. Um, so these buying and selling climaxes tend to give you an idea here. This is not quite as big. It's a 8% range, but it is outside the norm for the period. And as you can see, like that low that day was basically, it went one day, it went lower after, and then it was gone afterwards. Um, Here's another fairly large one, big spike down, and then there's a little slow drift and back up. Basically a selling climax that shakes everybody out. The same here on the, there was a buying spike here where there's a big move from the previous day's close up, and that signaled that short-term high, and that was the end for a while. Typically, these are a very short-term indicator. Here's another big spike where we get a what is it? A 9% down day. It wasn't the bottom, but momentum slowed after that and turned. So it did shake a lot of the sellers out of the market. Um, we can go back and look for some big spikes. Here's a spike buy, where you've got a very unusual upswing within one day, signals the top. Same right here, bang, you don't get another thing for a month. Um, Here's another selling climax, almost marks the bottom by 4 days, 5 days, and then it's up from there. Um, here's a buy spike, same deal. So you get the picture. I mean, these things show up with these super wide moves, tend to be a signal of you're at or near the end of the move. Um, Here's one here on the buy side, like an upswing that was way too wide, too much. Usually when you look at your portfolio and you see things are too good to be true, it usually is. Um, doesn't matter if you're a long-term trader and you like this trend. I mean, there's a great case to be made for this one. Um, you won't let these one-day moves freak you out too much, but it could give you an opportunity if you were looking to lighten up, or if it's a selling climax, if you were looking to buy a little more. um, that could be something nice for you. Now, this particular stock, I mean, if I go back on a monthly chart, so I'm doing a log chart here. It's this day that's part of this month here. So far, it's amounted to nothing. I mean, nothing's impossible. It could go down more, but the odds are, based on past experience, low. I mean, this is par for the course so far for this drop for this stock. I mean, it's had a phenomenal uprun, but if you look at it, there's been some hiccups along the way, and they're usually short. That's the great thing about an uptrend. If I put it on a log, you'll see again how the volatility was pretty extreme for quite a few years, and now the last 20 years has been a steady uptrend with reduced volatility. Um, so that's my little thing about what I like in terms of maybe potentially taking the other side of the people panicking. And if you are currently panicking about a position right now, look at this, and I'll show you the script right now. You might be interested. Here, we'll get those little guys back. And so the high script, um, it looks like this. I'll share it. I'll publish this script. I just call it low range from previous close. Not very creative that way with my names, but here's basically plotting the high minus the previous day's close. That's that one in brackets divided by the previous day's close times 100, just to get a nice pretty percentage. And the low is obviously just substitute the high for the low and just reverse, so you get positive numbers. You subtract the previous day's close from the low divided by the close times 100, and that's what you got. So I'd love if somebody can tell me how to actually plot the histogram automatically. I'd love that. I don't know how to do it. I just go into my settings here and I change it manually. But if anybody's got some better Pine script work experience than I do, feel free to throw that in. Thank you very much. Ciao.